habe gemeint.
Let's elaborate on that further. Einstein has just proved mathematically that space and time are linked. And not only that, is that time moves slower the faster you move through space. Here, let me show you. So Einstein's theory of special relativity simplified without a sane amount of mathematics involved. He states that in all inertial frames, laws of physics are the same for all observers within those frames. So for example, F equals ma, one of Newton's laws of motion. F equals ma is valid in an inertial frame, and it's still valid in this inertial frame that is traveling 15 meters a second, as there are no forces acting upon that. Now, but he also proposed that the speed of light is constant for all inertial frames and non-inertial frames. And to prove to you that the non-inertial frames do not hold F equals ma to be true would be the equivalence principle. Now so this frame of reference is a non-inertial frame, and it is accelerating. So for a person inside this frame, the ball appears to be moving down towards the ground with a force. But to an outside observer, the ball is not moving at all. So that would be a fictitious force. So F equals ma is not valid in that argument. Einstein also predicted that time and space were interlocked in a thing that he called space-time. Now, the faster you moved, the slower time went for that object. So this simple graph here is time is this direction and space is this direction. So if you're in an object at rest, time would move the quickest for that object. But to move, you have to exchange some time velocity for spatial velocity. So time would move slower if you try to move through space. Now Einstein proved through mathematics that the time velocity plus spatial velocity always equals the speed of light. So therefore you can never travel faster than the speed of light. Ich will eine Theorie erstellen, die alles erklären kann. just created his theory of general relativity. 10 years earlier, he created his theory of special relativity and E equals mc squared in the same year. Now, he linked space and time with energy and mass in a way that explains gravity. Here, let me explain. Now, back to the equivalence principle. With an accelerating frame of reference, you cannot tell the difference between if you were on Earth, if this was accelerating 9.8 meters a second per second. As in Earth's gravitational field, there would be 9.8 meters a second per second of acceleration towards the Earth. Now, there is no experiment to differentiate between the two. And since in this one you know that that is not a force, Einstein also concluded that gravity was not a force, but instead a consequence of space-time curvature. Now, mass and energy bend space-time. Here's more of an example. As you get closer to a mass, space gets more compressed. But as a result of that, time also slows down. So the farther you away are from a mass, the faster time speeds up, as it's the same as if you were in an accelerating frame of reference. Okay, so this is my gravity visualizer, and this can better demonstrate gravity in 3 dimensions. Okay, so as from the other equations, we know that mass and energy both warp space-time, and we know that they're not forces. So here's an example. This fabric represents space-time. Imagine this in 4 dimensions, or 3 dimensions. So you place a mass in here and it warps the space-time. But this warping of the space-time is in 3 dimensions continuously around this object. Now say if you have a smaller object, and then you put it there, it's going to roll and attract towards this object. There's not a force pulling them together, it's just the natural behavior of the masses and the effect of space-time. Now if we add more mass, then there's more curvature. So therefore the objects will fall faster and with more force towards them. And this is how orbits work. But there wouldn't be any friction with the fabric, so they'll just keep going and they'll orbit the item. Is there any way out of the impasse created by man himself, and all of us, particularly those who are responsible for the attitude of the US and the USSR, should realize that we may have vanquished an external enemy, but have been incapable of getting rid of the mentality created by war?
It is impossible
to achieve
peace as long as every single action is taken with a possible future conflict in view.